I answered a spam call just to mess with them. The voice on the other end was my father, who died 10 years ago. It was a Tuesday morning. I was making coffee and my phone buzzed with an unknown number from a state I'd never been to. I was bored. I figured I'd waste a scammer's time. I answered with a fake, cheerful voice. But before I could launch into my routine, the voice on the other end spoke. It was a low, gravelly whisper. A voice I hadn't heard in a decade. A voice that was buried in a cemetery 2 towns over. It said one word, champ. That was his name for me. No one else ever called me that. The line went dead. I stood in my kitchen, coffee forgotten, my entire body trembling. My father's death was sudden. A car accident on a rainy night. I was a teenager. The funeral was a blur of black suits and hushed apologies. The main thing I remember, the detail that suddenly felt sharp and wrong, was that the casket was closed. My mom insisted on it. She said the accident was bad, and it was better to remember him how he was. We never questioned it. It was a tragedy, and you don't question the grieving. A few days after the call, I was tearing through my dad's old office, a room that had been left mostly untouched. I was looking for I don't know what, a clue, an explanation. In the back of his desk drawer, under a false bottom I never knew existed, I found a single business card. It didn't have his name on it. It just said, Odyssey Solutions, with a phone number and a post office box in Nevada. On the back, in my father's familiar handwriting, was a string of numbers. It wasn't a phone number. It looked like a code. I called the number on the card. A man with a cautious, clipped voice answered. I told him I found this card among my father's things. I said my father's name. There was a long pause. He told me to meet him the next day at a diner an hour from my house. He said to come alone. I went. The man was older, with tired eyes that had seen too much. He introduced himself as Peterson. He slid a coffee across the table and told me that everything I knew about my father's death was a lie. My dad wasn't just an accountant. He was a forensic accountant for the Department of Justice. He had stumbled upon a massive, dangerous money laundering scheme involving a cartel. There was a credible threat not just against him, but against me and my mom. The car accident was a staged event, a fake death. It was the only way to get him into the witness protection program without the cartel knowing he was still alive and about to testify. He vanished from our lives so we could keep living ours. I just stared at him, my mind unable to process the words. My father was alive. For 10 years, he had been alive. Peterson explained that the case was finally, completely over. The last of the cartel leaders had been arrested last month. The threat was gone. My dad was a free man. The spam call, Peterson said, was a mistake. My father was given a new identity, a new life, but he was desperate to reach me. He used a burner phone trying to get through, and it got flagged by the carrier as spam. He only had a few seconds before the line was automatically cut. Peterson pushed a folded piece of paper across the table. On it was a new number. A real number. He's been waiting 10 years to make this call, Peterson said, and then he stood up and walked away, leaving me alone in the booth. I drove home in a daze. I sat on my couch for an hour, just staring at the number. Finally, with a shaking hand, I dialed it. It rang twice, and then he answered. The voice wasn't a whisper the strong. It was real. Champ, he said again, his voice thick with emotion. I closed my eyes. I wasn't talking to a ghost. I was talking to my dad.